What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, they asked for it. What are we doing, Julie?
We're going to do our top 10 favorite board games.
Yes, we are doing the top 10 favorite board games. And this is going to be different than anything I think most people in the board gaming community have seen before. I just want to say a big thanks to John Rocha and Matt Knost. They provided the inspiration for this with their top 10 show. Down below in the video description, you will find a link to the top 10 channel on YouTube. They just started it up. The top 10 show is a podcast, so you'll be able to find them there. And what the format is this. Julie and I decided to do our top 10 board games. She went off, and you've got your list right there.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my list right here. It's digital, and we haven't discussed it. We don't know what each other's lists are. The way it's going to work, we're going to present our bottom three. Sorry, I said three, but it's going to be our bottom four, then the following three, then our top three. Now, if we do have a game that is the same, we're going to use a D&D term. I tried to find a better term, couldn't think of anything. We're going to hold our action and talk about it if it is also on my list. So for example, let's say my number 10 game is Julie's number 5. I'm going to hold talking about it. We'll talk about it at the number 5 slot. The video will be broken up into 4 parts, with the final section being us creating the definitive list for our channel, Dice and Dragons. That being said, let's talk about what our number 10 game is. So if you see me tapping my phone, got to make sure it's still awake.
I think based on the fact that I used old school, I should go first.
Okay, so you go first.
Okay, so my number 10 is Harry Potter and Death Eaters Rising.
Not on my list.
There you go.
Let's talk about it.
So I picked, we've played 2 very similar games on this. We've actually reviewed this not very long ago. For me, this one edged out Knost Rising, although I'd been talking about Knost Rising for a while. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge of it. I think I just enjoy the Harry Potter IP just means a little bit more to us. And I really enjoyed the way that this cooperative game is quite a challenge and a lot of fun. I mean, you're playing with cards, you're fighting the Death Eaters. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great cooperative game that any Harry Potter fan would love to have.
So I'll tell you why it's not on my list. I think that's a good way to do it. The one thing that I really dislike about the game, now, if you watch our review of it, I enjoy this game. While I didn't make my top 10, it was in the running. There's a few games that I thought about, some mechanically, others just enjoyment level, and based on a few things, they didn't make the list. This one, while the enjoyment factor is high, there are some issues just with the overall design that I have. That means it couldn't make it on my top 10 list. The fact that a bad shuffle, bad draw, means that you could end up with too many Death Eaters. You could start with very difficult to acquire characters. Essentially, having you restart the game is something I didn't like. Also, it doesn't scale well. It's much easier at 2 than it is at 4 players. So that's why I didn't make the list. It's something that we'll debate, see if it does make our final top 10 list. But I do enjoy the game.
Yeah, and for me, and I think we'll see one of the big differences as we start reviewing is Jason might be more of a stickler for mechanics, and in my case, if one of the big things is what are games are going to make it back on the table based on enjoyment factor, and I'm willing to put aside some little things that Jason may be very stickler on from a way to play, but for me, if I didn't have enough fun playing it that I don't want to bring it back to the table, it's definitely not making it the top 10, even if mechanically or from original standpoint, it is one of the best games that you've seen. So I think we'll have some differences. I can feel it coming.
We might, but just to give you an idea, there's a game that you can probably see over there that probably one of the best mechanical games we've ever played, CO2, not on my list. It was close though. It was close.
Okay, so
that being said,
that was my number 10. I think I should go by number 9.
No, okay, so I was going to present my number 10.
No, we're doing...
Okay, you're going to present yours?
I'm going to do it the way the top 10 list does
All right, let's do it.
My number 9 is Zombicide Green Horde.
Not on my list.
Okay, so the reason it's on my list, you've heard me talk about Zombicide. We've reviewed a lot of Zombicide. Green Horde made the list because I really enjoy the game. I enjoy the way that it plays. We could still call it a dungeon crawl, right?
I wouldn't say it is sort of a dungeon crawl. It's more of a, it's a cooperative scenario-based game, but it's very similar to a dungeon crawl because you're up-leveling.
You get to roll dice and you get to kill monsters. So of all the different properties, Green Horde was fun because of the different monsters that were in it. But I think one of the things that put it over the top and had Green Horde win over others was the Kickstarter expansion that had the basically superhero knockoff characters. So where I got to play Wonder Woman, basically.
Yeah, and that's exactly why the game is not on my list. I couldn't put a game like Zombicide, which does so great with the Kickstarter version of the game, and the retail version is just missing so much content. To me, that's just something that I couldn't justify putting on the list because a lot of the content isn't available for most of our viewers out there. That being said, though, the Kickstarter exclusives for Green Horde are awesome. The game is a ton of fun. And if you are a Zombicide fan, Fantasy System is probably the most entertaining. I still prefer sci-fi in terms of
Green Horde
mechanically.
Green Horde is still my favorite.
I said mechanically.
Yeah. Okay, so that's my number 9.
Okay, so keep going. Get up to your number 8.
My number 8 is Lord of the Rings: Journey to Middle Earth.
So we're going to hold our action because we're going to talk about that one a little bit further down the road.
Okay. So we said 4, right? We started with 4. So my number 7 is The Reckoners.
So The Reckoners is not on my list.
Really?
Yes, it is not on my list.
Wow. I'm shocked. So I really enjoyed, the first time we played this, we played it on easy, and I went back and I looked at our review of the game. I wanted to remember. And honestly, when we played it the first time and reviewed it, we played it on easy. And then after that, we went on harder modes, and I really, really enjoyed the game. And it's one of the games that, we review a lot of games for the channel, and we're often learning new games and playing new games. But every once in a while, Jason and I get to bring back a game that we like and bring it back to the table. This is one of the ones that I'll ask for, and I'll say, I'll play it again. Now, sometimes I forget the name of the game, and I call it the little steel guy or the little metal guy, because I think we have a special edition version.
Yes, we have the Kickstarter edition of the game.
But I really enjoy it, and we've played it. We've played it quite a few times, and for me, this is one of the reasons why I just enjoy playing it. I enjoy playing it with you, and it's just got the right level of difficulty and the right amount of time spent playing it, and it's easy to put up and easy to tear down. So for me, that's why it's on the list.
Now, I love The Reckoners. This was one of the ones that had to get cut from my list. I was looking at games that we've played, games I put a lot of time into, and stuff that I want to get back out to the table. Now, I do enjoy playing The Reckoners. I think it does feel a little bit light on the replayability. There are some expansions being worked on by Novel Games, so not giving up on it yet, but if this was our top 15 games, it would be in my top 15 without a question. But it was hard choices, and I also went for a little bit of variety on our list, so it just didn't quite make the cut. So now I'm going to go with my number 10. I wonder if you're going to guess what it is. It is Folklore: The Affliction.
Not on my list.
So I really enjoy this game. This almost fired a game from being higher up on my list. It was a tough call. We played a lot of it. I really enjoyed the story. The reason why this is not higher on my list is the combat mechanics after playing through the game have gone a little dull. I thought we'd want to jump right into the Dark Tales expansion and keep going. Definitely going to finish the game. Eagerly waiting for the Kickstarter. I think it's Fall of the Spire. I might be getting it wrong. In any case, there's a new expansion coming, supposed to fix the combat mechanics. I think I might hold off before diving back in until we see what the new stuff is.
Well, for me, this is similar to another game that we've played a lot and is on my list. And for me, it just, while I enjoy playing it, it just doesn't have the same amount of love for me that the other game has. And I really, for this, although it's a lot of fun, it's not something, like I said, and that's going to guide everything on my list. It's not something that once we're done with the campaign, I don't see myself asking to play this game again. And
that's why it's number 10, because quite frankly, it's one of the ones that, not going to hide it, when we do our Dice and Dragons top 10 list, it's probably going to fall off the list. But I want to mention it. We've played a lot of it. I do think with some better combat mechanics that the game might actually, go up the list because it's really fun. So number 9 on my list, I'm 100% sure it's not on her list, is Space Base.
Absolutely not.
Now, Space Base is a very solid engine building game. I really liked it. I've only had, I think, one terrible play of the game. There's one card in there. I really hate it. It's the one that lets you steal other people's victory points. People a good engine and get that card, you pretty much automatically win the game. But it's a well done game, easy to teach in terms of what you're doing. And I like the fact that everyone around the table is always active. You're taking actions on other people's turns by generating your resources and planning out your movements ahead. Great game, really enjoy it. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, for me, I mean, we've played it a few times. It never really did anything for me. It doesn't, every time I play it, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's not the worst game I've ever played, but definitely not in my top 10. And I think you've suggested a few times playing it, and I'm like, yeah, you can play with somebody else.
So my number 8 is Call to Adventure.
It didn't make my list.
It didn't make your list. I thought it was going to make your list. Well, I can probably guess why it didn't make your list. I do love Call to Adventure. It's something that I thought could have been higher on my list. Well, it's fun, easy to play, and I love the storytelling aspect, especially when you have a group of people that love to tell stories around the table. There are a few things that kind of dragged it down. The fact that the cooperative mode is just really tacked on. It's fun. It's not great. Doesn't inspire me to play it, but it's one of those competitive games that I find can play with anyone. You're not feeling attacked, and it's very original. And I said I did try to strive for some variety, and games that I've played fairly often, Call to Adventure, is one of those.
Yeah, so it got bumped off the list by, another game. It was up there and I went back and forth. But to me, just from an enjoyment perspective of the game, the other game just topped it up. So I do enjoy it. It's a good game. It's just, not, like you said before, if it was a top 15, yeah, it would be on it for me.
All right. So I need to take a look at my list, and everything has now been deleted on my list. So we were going to come back. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
No. You know what? That's actually perfect. We're having a glitch. I was tapping it to keep it on, and I just made a bunch of spaces, so it's perfect. So number 7 on my list, we now get to talk about it because this one is on both of our lists. It is Journeys in Middle-earth.
Yeah.
So
go ahead, since it's on yours.
Yeah, so this is the one that, I had a little bit higher than Julie. I really like this game, and to be honest, without the expansion, this would not have made the top 10 list. The second campaign, for the low amount of money that it is, the amount of plays that we got in of the game, and just how much more it felt like that Lord of the Rings experience. I think this is a lot of fun. Now, the app integration can be something that people love. It's also something that people can hate. We tend to like app integrated games. I mean, even if I can't play the game in 5 to 10 years, we've knocked out, almost 24 missions. I don't think there's very few games that have hit the table in terms of plays and consecutive plays like Journeys in Middle-earth. So that's why it's number 7 on my list. Solid all-around experience, especially if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so mine wasn't far off that. It was number 8. The reason it was number 8 and not maybe a little higher, one of the pet peeves I have with it that kind of made it frustrating for me was one of the mechanics on how basically when you decide to explore, you could end up opening, 12 different, and then the threat level would go up. And for me, it just annoyed me to leave a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth and made it fall down the list a little bit more.
Oh, and I can understand. I mean, the only way we really mitigated that in the game was with the Pathfinder. And that's another thing that kind of knocks it down a little bit. If you're not playing with the Pathfinder class, you're kind of missing out like we did the first time.
Yeah.
So there you have it. There are our lists. I think we found one game that is actually going to make, for sure, our Dice and Dragons top 10. We really focus on the commonalities. The rest is going to be banter and debate, so we'll see. But I think most of the games that you've seen here are going to probably fall off of our final list as we move into the higher numbers. So keep it right here as we take a quick break, and we will be back with what numbers, Julie?
I guess that would be 4 through 6.
4 through 6 coming up. And we're back. We fixed a few technical glitches. Well, the ones I have with my phone anyway. And we've got a new battery. We're good to go. We've got plenty of time for you. Now, what are we doing, Julie?
We're going to do 6 through 4.
6 through 4. Excellent.
So my number 6, I have a feeling we're going to hold our action. My number 6 is Marvel Champions.
Oh, we're definitely holding our action on that one.
I had a feeling. Okay, so my number 5 is Imperial Assault.
So that did not make my list.
And I'm surprised. I honestly am.
It's the first game we really started playing together.
Yeah, well, we played it. We played it without the app, more the traditional way with
the one versus many.
The one versus
Sorry for
many.
Jumping in.
For Sammy G, he likes to do that a lot, as you can see in different videos. I've seen it as I review our reviews. He cuts me off a lot, but that's okay. I love him anyways. So the reason it's here is more
better.
Cut me off again. Is for the version that we play with the app. There's been multiple expansions of it. It just keeps coming back to the table, and whenever there's new campaigns, I'm always willing to play it. I really like the way it plays. I love playing the Wookiee. It's just a lot of fun.
She hated all melee characters until she played a Wookiee.
Well, when we played the original versus, the one versus many, I wanted to be the sniper. I wanted to stay out of the fight, and now I just want to go in there and smash everything. So yes. It is one of my. It has an important place in my heart. I have real fondness for this game. I really enjoy it, and that's why it is where it is on the list.
So, simple reason why this did not make my list. Very simple. I'm not putting two games with systems that are essentially the same on my list unless I could put like a full system per se. So I had to make a choice. Imperial Assault was the one that did not make the cut. And we'll leave it at that for now.
Like I said, I don't care if they're mechanics or other mechanics. This is a question of which games do I like the most to bring to the table. And this is one of them.
Oh, it's not a question about mechanics. Don't worry. There's something else on the list.
I'm sure. Okay, so number 4?
Yep, go for your number 4.
Aeon's End Legacy.
So Aeon's End, not on my list.
Really? Okay.
I went for a little bit of variety. I probably picked something very different than what you picked, but
it's going to be an interesting top 10 because these are some of the games that he's enjoyed playing the most. So I have a feeling his top 10 list is not based on fun.
It's based on fun. There's a reason. Well, honest to God, I kind of forgot Legacy, to be honest, when I was putting together my list. So you might find a way to slide that one on the final game list.
So for me, we've played a lot of Aeon's End. If you've watched our holiday guide, I put an Aeon's End in this one. I really enjoyed Legacy. At first, I was scandalized that I was actually destroying cards. It didn't work for me, but I love the system. I love the way it worked and how we worked through it. It was a large time commitment, but it was a lot of fun, and I really, really, really did enjoy it. And I like the fact that there's, if I remember correctly, there's a way to restart this if you want. Yes,
you can buy the reset pack for Aeon's End Legacy.
Yep.
Now, I think this is probably the best Legacy game on the market in terms of what you get, as the game does include, if you decide to open everything up or once you complete the campaign, a way to reset it and play it as a standard Aeon's End game. You can buy a reset pack, which will give you like new character boards, all the cards you stickered, so that you can restart the campaign. And what's cool, you can keep your old characters as well. Just have to spend, the cost of that reset pack. There's a lot to like about Aeon's End Legacy. I'm actually feeling a little remiss that it slipped my mind that it's not on my list. It is a great game and probably should have been there over one of the other games I put.
Mm-hmm. So that's my 4 through 6.
So I'm going through mine. And my number 6, it may be on your list, may not be. You stole my favorite character in this game. It is Street Masters.
It is not.
I absolutely adore this game. It's my number 6 because where else am I going to have Street Fighter, Streets of Rage combined? I love the combo system in the game. Easy to set up. Well, mostly easy to set up. Looking forward to getting the Aftershock expansion so that I can pre-base everything and really speed up that setup time. But overall, I've just really enjoyed the game. A lot of depth to it. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, it didn't make my list for one of the things you just alluded to. It is one of these games that takes a long time to set up. I find at least, and it takes a long time to play, and there are other games for me that I enjoy more than this one. I had fun playing it. It's just not up there in my preferred games to play.
Understood. So my number 5, and I don't think this is going to be on your list, despite all the fun we've had with it, my number 5 is Clank. The original Clank is up there. I have had so much fun with this game. It is a game I love introducing to new players. It's easy to play. We've had a great time with your parents. Your mom murdered you in the dungeon with Dragon's Breath. Yeah, that happened. She was still very sad about it. And I'll never let her forget it, that she murdered her daughter in the dungeon. So there's just so many good memories, much like Imperial Assault with this game. I've introduced it to people that don't like deck builders. They get right into the game, despite the fact that I think that Clank in Space is a better game mechanically. This is the one that I'd want to play. This is the one that's more accessible. It's more family friendly. And I have no qualms bringing it anywhere and putting it down in front of anyone and having a great time with this game.
It's not on my list because it's one of those competitive games. It is a deck builder, and that part I do enjoy. But there's been too many games where, somebody just, ran away with the game, and it just wasn't fun. And, it's part of the problem for me with competitive games and just the style of game that I like is I don't enjoy. And I mean, there are some Clanks, like you said, Clank in Space. I refuse to play with you. But it was fun. I've enjoyed it, but the last couple of times I've played it, I just haven't.
Even though you won, she always ran away with the game. She's beaten me at this more than I've beaten her.
Yeah, and this is one of those games where you're like, oh, let's play Clank. Yeah, no, I don't feel like it. So it didn't make it. I mean, it didn't make the list. I did enjoy it. I have enjoyed playing it. I just haven't been in the mood for that kind of game for a little bit of time.
So my number 4, and I'm sure this is going to be probably a hold, or if it's not on your list, I'll be floored. It is Descent 2nd Edition.
Yeah, we're going to hold our action.
That's what I figured. So if you're wondering why Imperial Assault is not on the list, I had to pick Descent, and we'll talk about it as we move up the list. So there you have it. That is 4 through 6. So keep it right here, and we're going to be back with
our top 3.
Our top 3. Stay tuned. So
we're back with our top 3.
Yeah, we're into the creme de la creme right now. We have
creme de la creme. You're Montrealer.
Hey, we have an international audience.
Okay, well, it's la creme de la creme. That's what it is. It's French.
Okay, so
my number 3. My number 3. Stop peeking at my list. My number 3, I'm sure, is not on your list, but it is one of the games that I enjoy the most. It's another Harry Potter IP. It is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. I love this game.
I know you love this game. I love playing this game. Way too many problems for this to even get close to a top 10.
I know.
It's not even in a top 20.
We're
going to argue about putting that on the Dice and Dragons list. I know that for sure.
Honestly, for me, the reason it didn't make number 1 is because we've talked about, hypothetically, a top 10 list and what might be on it months ago. And I said, definitely that's on my list. And Jason said, absolutely not. Too many mechanics problems. But you know what? I love the game. And with a little bit of a house rule of checking when you get to the later years to make sure that they're not all at the bottom. I'm not saying stacking the deck.
You need to stack the deck.
I'm not saying stacking the deck. I just want to make sure that they're not all at the bottom.
You have to stack them in the top half of the deck or you waste 45 minutes to an hour.
In any case, I've played this game with you. Then I played it with the Cyberbard and his wife. We've played it with my parents. My parents are not big gamers. Jason gets them to play games because they love him, because they don't really love playing games.
Your mom does.
We played this game for basically 8 hours straight with my parents?
Yes, because your mom did not want to stop.
So that
I was ready to stop at year 5.
So that being said, I feel the same way as my mom did. I just love playing this game. When the expansion came out, I was just thrilled. It was a bad weekend for a lot of different reasons, and it just took my mind off of what was going on and just had a great time. So this game, I can put aside the little mechanics issue. It
Little.
is. It is definitely my top 3.
I love playing this game. I also hate playing this game. Well, correction. I hate playing this game sometimes in the later seasons. There are some gigantic mechanical flaws in the game with regards to setting up your stack of cards. You get way too many cards by the time you're at year 7 for a solid deck builder. There are cards that you absolutely require to complete tasks in the game. And we've had full playthroughs where we spent almost 2 hours beating our head against the wall and losing, and then finding that all the cards are at the bottom of the deck. This is the reason why this game is nowhere near my top 10. However, the game is fun. You do pretty much have to. Julie says it's a house rule. It's stacking the deck. You do need to make sure in the later seasons that the cards that you need are somewhere readily available in the deck. Now, I would love to see something come out from USAopoly, an official errata to really streamline the game, get rid of some of the earlier cards from year 1, 2, 3, 4, especially when you get into, I think it's more year 6 and 7 from what I can remember, where you need those cards with the dice. But the game is fun. It's incredibly thematic. I've had a blast playing it. Playing it with your dad and watching him get all excited as we formed the plan to beat Voldemort in year 5 was like one of our best gaming experience. So experience-wise, the game is up there. I do highly recommend it to anyone that's a Potter fan, especially if you have a family of Harry Potter fans. It is a great game. You'll have fun with it. Just know you've got to fudge it a little bit, but could not get anywhere near my top 10 because of that.
Well, we're going to have a big debate about this one. So my number 2, Descent.
So that is my number 4 from earlier, so let's talk about it. Surprised it wasn't your number 1. I have no idea what your number 1 is now.
Yes, you do. I'm sure you do if you think about it. So Descent is the first game that, Jason and I played, where he basically was telling me, you'd like Dungeons and Dragon type games. You can play it. You just don't realize that you like it. So it's our first dungeon crawl with the app. And it's funny because I went back to see the review. It's one of the first reviews that we did together on the channel. And I loved it as much then as I still do. I've compared many games to Descent. And for me, it is different enough from Imperial Assault to make it different. I learned to love attacking monsters and to explore and take challenges and risks in games with this game. So for me, it's an awesome game. I don't think it's for absolutely every gamer, every person who likes board games. I don't think this is something, let's say, that my parents would play, or some of our other friends that I would call light board gamers. But this definitely, it takes a lot of setup time and a long time to play, but it is a lot of fun.
No, this was in my top 4 for a few reasons. It was almost in the top 3. There's just a few things that have come out recently that I enjoy more, but this is our game. There was no way that this game could be left off the list. It is the reason why Imperial Assault is not on the list, because this is our game. We started Imperial Assault with friends, and I realized I really wanted to pick one or the other. So that is why this fired Imperial Assault from the list. It's something we did together. It's really where Dice and Dragons sort of started. I was definitely looking at doing some stuff with Sammy G, but without Descent, you would not be sitting here with me today. So it's on the list. It almost got up there higher. Folklore gave it a good run in terms of story. Not gonna lie, with the app you got a solid story, but a few things in Folklore, like just being able to wander the map, keep playing, stuff that you don't necessarily have as much with Descent. You do have it with some of the app modes, like the never-ending dungeon, but that's just fighting in the dungeon. That's why it didn't make the top 3, is that sort of that lacking story element that we've seen in some newer game designs. But I love the game. If you're looking for a tactical dungeon crawler, especially that's got a solid story with an app, I highly recommend this game. I have really not too many negatives to say about it, except for that lack of, sort of questing across a map. Man, maybe we can find some way to combine Descent and Folklore, and we'll have our perfect game.
I don't know. I kind of like the fact that there isn't that much story to it. You know, as we've talked about, sometimes for me, you know, Jason loves reading all the backstory, and he says, "Do you want to read all?" No, it's fine. I don't want to read. I just want to get to the game.
Smashy smash.
Yes. So, are you ready? Did you cheat and did you look?
Well, there's only one thing that has been conspicuous from your list, so I'm figuring it has to be your number one.
So my number one, if you've watched the channel at all, I hope that you can guess. I'm sure Jason has figured it out now. My number one, and I know for sure it's not on Jason's list, is X-Files Legendary Encounters.
Yeah, not on my list. But I will say, this was the top 15. The Legendary game system, which would include the base one Encounters, would have made my top 15 game systems. It's just, once again, game gets a little wonky.
You didn't even let me explain why it's there. You just went right into why it's not on
No,
the list.
I said it's a little wonky, and I was tossing it back to you.
Okay. Well, it's on my list for many, many reasons. First of all, I would probably have...
What are you? Sorry to cut you off. What are you?
I'm an X-File. And I went back to the reviews that we've done where Jason was telling me, I'm not just an X-File fan. I'm an X-File fan. And I said, yes, otherwise called an X-File. But that being said...
I was going to do the music. I can't do it well. Do-do-do-do-do.
No, you missed that up, but it's okay. There would have been other Legendary games on the list. I mean, I have enjoyed playing. I enjoyed the Legendary system a lot. I enjoyed that. It is my favorite deck builder. That's why it's number one. If you could incorporate dice in it as well, I think it would be even better. But that being said, those Legendary systems are really a lot of fun. I enjoyed the Marvel version. I've really enjoyed the Buffy version. If I could get you to play the X-File version more often, we'd play it more often. But I have to say...
You haven't asked recently.
Well, we played a Legendary game... can't remember. Last time we played a game that wasn't a new game was a Legendary game, and
Buffy.
You wanted Buffy. I offered X-Files, and you said absolutely not. So we got Buffy.
Oh, I can explain that. Wasn't in the mood for Encounters, but you wanted to play Legendary. I just didn't want to deal with some of the encounter mechanics. I was more in the mood. It'd been a while since we'd jumped into Legendary. The last one we played before that was Firefly, I think, with Encounters.
Yeah, so the Firefly is probably one of my least favorite of them, just because I know the IP, but doesn't mean as much.
Oh, the art sucks too, but art is terrible.
So that being said, for me, when I was making my list, I went back and forth a little bit. And when I talked about the fact that my list was based on enjoyment factor, the one game that I will probably never say no to putting on the table, that every time Jason says, you want to play a game, yeah. Legendary is always one of the ones that I name. And I get really excited when Jason says, oh, okay, because it's not normally okay, but that's definitely the one that I would bring to the table the most often. So for me, from a genuine perspective, if I want to be true to myself for what my top 10 favorite board games are, Legendary had to be in the number one spot. And there were others there, like I said, Descent came number 2, and there were others in there that I've enjoyed as well, but just can't beat Legendary for me.
All right, so we're going to go for my number 3, which is definitely not on her list, now that we've seen the rest of her list. There's only one commonality left. I think we might have done that a little differently than they do on the top 10 show. I think we're supposed to go back and forth, but that's okay. This is our version and what we're doing. So my number 3 is a game that Julie did really enjoy. It is actually my favorite deck builder, which is Thunderstone Quest. By far, I think it is the best deck builder that we have. The strategies that come out of the game, the way that you can create combos, the campaign system, the fact that the campaign also now includes cooperative elements, that they've just kept going with it and expanding it. I have had so much fun with this game. It's one of the games I would like to get out more often. I do recognize that I think long-term there is a weakness in the game with regards to the campaign system. Maybe we'll play it just going back to finishing off everything one-off. I do think that the Rogue is significantly, Rogue style deck, significantly stronger than the Mage. It used to be that Julie was outpacing me in terms of points, but building up a Rogue style campaign deck, it's just I love the way everything combos together, but kind of frustrates her as she watched me pull off some crazy stuff. She's like, how is this happening? And you're sure? And now you've got like 30 attack and you're just wailing on everything as you tear this dungeon apart. Very cool, but I love the fact that you can do that in the game. It's so awesome. By far my favorite deck builder. Tons of content. We've scratched a significant amount of it, but there's still so much more for us to play. I absolutely adore the game.
And see, for me, I think one of the, as you're talking about it, I'm remembering the game because I was like, I don't even remember this game. And I think one of the things is it just got too frustrating for me that somebody can just run away. And it's the same thing with Clank. Like once the game is just out of hand, I just don't enjoy playing it. And, that's why it's completely, wiped from my memory bank. It's just not a game that stood out for me.
Despite the fact that you really enjoyed it and you really wanted to play it, you really didn't like it with the campaign system once there was a clear difference between your mage, because that's what you built your deck, and my rogue. Can I say, rogues do it from behind. If you're a fan of World of Warcraft, you know exactly what that means.
I'm not even touching that one.
Now, my number 2, which I'm actually sort of surprised it did not make your list. I thought it might have been at the very bottom of your list because I have seen you probably smiled the most playing this game out of all the games recently, which is Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid.
Yeah, I knew it was on a B. I'm going to go right away before you're going to go on and on and on and on talking about this game. I did enjoy playing with it. Playing that game. I did enjoy certain aspects of it. I think you saw more enjoyment from me because you loved the game so much. You wanted me to absolutely love it. I enjoyed playing it. It probably would be in a top 15, but I think the reason you loved it so much was the IP.
Well, honestly, it's not really just the IP. Grew up with the IP, loved the IP. Some people, growing up, their heroes were Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. Loved all those characters. I had Marvel cards, but the heroes that spoke to me at that age, because I think they're just more relatable, they're teenagers doing good things, learning martial arts, trying to be better, were the Power Rangers. I grew up on the original show. Absolutely loved it. Tommy was the coolest evil Power Ranger, and just even what they've done with the comic book series now in the future, the way that's captured.
You're talking about the IP, not the game, huh?
No, I'm getting there. The way it's all captured in the game is why I love it so much, because listening to the podcast from Shut Up and Sit Down, just hearing people talk about it, a lot of people have fond memories of Power Rangers, and we grow up, we get older, we think it's that stupid kids thing, but the game captures everything that's awesome about the IP. It's teamwork, it's working together, it's playing cards, doing cool abilities, summoning robots, smashing monsters, and at the end of the day, saving Angel Grove. And I absolutely adore this game. It is one of my favorites. I will always be willing to play it, much like Julie's always like, let's play Legendary. I'd be like, let's play Power Rangers. And we've scratched the surface. Well, not scratched the surface. We've got a solid of the way through a lot of the content. I'm looking forward to getting more Gold Rangers coming. Really looking forward to getting it back to the table. Can you figure out what my number 1 is? If you've been paying attention, you should know it's a pun from earlier. In my opinion.
A hold action?
A hold action. Yeah, there you go. Slipped in the actual vernacular from the top 10 show. Love you, Knost. Love you, Rocha. So in any case, the hold action from earlier, Marvel Champions, is my number 1 game. I haven't got a ton of plays of it yet, but just mechanically, fun-wise, I think it is the best game that we have in our collection with everything that's coming. Captain America, Thor, Green Goblin.
I'm going to say,
this game is going to get played more than anything else.
I was going to say, this game would have been higher on the list. It is number 6 for me. I did enjoy it a lot. However, there's a lot of stuff, and you just mentioned it, for all you are anticipating, and we talked about this in the review, we are anticipating what is to come with this game. I think it's a lot of fun right now. I enjoyed it a lot. However, we're putting a lot of hope into the deck building components coming, as well as the new characters. It was a lot of fun. I'm not sure that it's a number 1 game or the best game we have in our collection based on what it currently does.
So even based on what it currently does, let's be honest, we are in the age of Marvel. I love everything about it. It reminds me a lot of the things that I enjoy with Power Rangers, the teamwork, working together, except this game has even more customizability by being able to, go aggressive, protection, your leadership decks. So there is a lot of variety that you can use with all the different characters that you're getting. There's going to be even more content coming. I know that I'm basing this, there's a fair bit of hope for the future there. Could absolutely fail. We might do a top 10 list in a year or two, and this falls significantly down my list, and I'll be like, I was wrong, my bad. But I don't think that'll happen because the people behind this game are the same people that have designed Arkham Horror, the living card game. They've also done Lord of the Rings, the living card game, which sort of were not the prototypes, but they started this genre, and they have a lot of experience with it. They've made hundreds of expansions, and doing this type of game with the Marvel property, I can only see it getting better and better. Also, when you talk about some of the stuff that I liked about Power Rangers, there's even more variety in all the characters. Every character plays different. She-Hulk is an entirely different beast, I said it specifically, than Captain Marvel. And you can play Captain Marvel. I tried her 2 ways, leadership and aggression. Both of them work. Makes you a little bit more fun with the aggression mode, just punching everything. It's so cool. It also plays great solo. It plays great at 2 players. Plays great at 4 players. Something that we don't see in a lot of games. The scalability is perfect in the game. So because they did so much right mechanically and I had so much fun with the game, it just had to be my number 1 game.
So folks, I guess you saw that our lists are fairly different. There's a little bit of overlap, so we're lucky that way. Jason and I are going to cut and do some math and figure out where things land, and we're going to come back with our top 10 list and some debate about where things should fall. Yeah,
I think we have a fair idea as to what's going to be at the top. We're going to look at our commonalities. So those are the ones that are going to rise to the top of the list. And then afterwards,
we'll duke it out for the bottom part of the list.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be tricky. And we're back. So what are we doing, Julie?
We're going to review what our Dice and Dragon top 10 definitive list is. I think we should both recap what our top 10 was each.
Perfect.
And then we can go through how this is going to be built. I think the beginning will be easy. As we said, the end might not be so easy.
Yeah, all right.
So my top 10 was number 10, Harry Potter, Death Eaters Rising. Number 9, Zombicide, Green Horde. Number 8, Lord of the Ring, Journey to Middle-earth. 7, The Reckoners. 6, Marvel Champions. 5, Imperial Assault. 4, Aeon's End Legacy. 3, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. Number 2, Descent. And number 1, X-Files Legendary Encounters.
So to review my top 10, we're going to start with number 10. We have Folklore the Affliction, followed by Space Base. And then kicking it into a more of a storytelling mode, we have Call to Adventure. Then at number 7, Journeys in Middle-earth. We have Street Masters at 6. Clank at 5. 4, Descent, 2nd edition. Number 3 is Thunderstone Quest. Then at number 2 is Power Rangers. I just have to say it like that. I'm sorry. Heroes of the Grid. And my number 1 game, Marvel Champions. Now, the way this works is we're going to take a look at our commonalities. Those commonalities, based on where they are on our list, are going to rise to the top. We did a little bit of debating off camera. I'm sure we've got our top 5 to present to you. Don't worry, we'll explain why 4 and 5 end up where they are. So, Julie, what is our number 1 game?
Well, that one was easy, Descent.
Yes. That is the highest game on both of our lists.
Number 2 on mine, number 3 on yours.
Number 4.
Okay, so that falls to number 1 for us. The next one should be pretty obvious. It also was on both of our lists, Marvel Champions.
Yes. Even though it was number 1 on mine and so far down on her list, Julie did agree that there's a lot of potential coming. So hopefully, not eating our words, and it will still be in the top 3 come a year or 2 from now. Haven't decided if we'll do another top 10 list next year. Maybe. We'll see how the video goes.
So number 3 was the other commonality that we had was Journey to Middle-earth. It was my number 8 and your number
7. It was far down the list, but the one thing I can say is we've got a lot of plays of the game. We are both fans of the Lord of the Rings, like books, movies. We even have the LCG. Really want to play more of that. So it makes sense for it to be there for us, even if it's not necessarily the favorite game. We have spent how many hours with this game?
Too many to count.
So there you go. And at number 4, well, I thought about arguing about my number 3 game. She thought about arguing about her number 3 game, but we came to a compromise. And what is the compromise?
So Aeon's End Legacy was my, I'm trying to remember where it was, my number 4. But also Jason admitted that he kind of left it off the list, and it probably would have been another common, if he had remembered Legacy.
Yeah, no, I definitely could have found a spot on my list. I prefer Thunderstone Quest. I like the variability you get with the competitive and the cooperative. I think it's the best deck builder, but cooperatively, building a mage and the experience we got with Legacy, it was an easy thing for me to say, let's put that at number 4. And our number 5 is...
Well, I'm going to save that one because I'm going to negotiate something with you. So your number 2 is Power Rangers, right?
Yes.
And you also have Call to Adventure, right?
Yep.
So
No, Call to Adventure is fire. We didn't clarify it. Our bottom 3, we agreed, are fire. They are not on the list. That means for me, Folklore, Call to Adventure, and Space.
Because on the basis of you forgot Aeon's End Legacy, Call to Adventure was my number 11. It literally was number 10, number 11, number 10, number 11. So I will give you Power Rangers in the number 5 if number 6 is Call to Adventure.
I can live with that. I thought we were firing our bottom 3, but that's okay. So here you go. Changes happening live as we're filming. Call to Adventure, solid choice. And so what is off your list entirely then, Julie?
So Harry Potter, Death Eaters Rising, I'm not going to be able to convince Jason that belongs on our top 10.
There's no way.
And Zombicide, Green Horde, Jason's already debated that it's, there are other games so similar to it that it wasn't making it to the list.
Well, we were talking more about Imperial Assault, but there's definitely some similarities with Zombicide. It's mainly the Kickstarter exclusives.
So it's coming back to basically what we feel our top games are that are not on either one of our lists.
So since you fired your bottom 3, let me fire, you fired number. So that means the Reckoners essentially got fired since Lord of the Rings jumped over it. Or do you want to try to keep that one on the list?
We'll see, but I'm fighting for X-Files Legendary.
So here's what we've done then. We've changed things up live on camera. This is part of the fun of filming the show and doing it more free-form debate. We only fired the bottom 2 of our list, and everything else is now up for debate. So you're fighting for X-Files Legendary.
Yep.
As it's your number 1, and in a few different iterations of the list, the Legendary game system was on there. I can't make you take your number 1 and knock it all the way down. I will give you X-Files Legendary at number 7. It was on, the Legendary game system was on my list.
Okay. So then I have to be giving you a number 8.
Yeah, so at number 8, that's going to be a tricky one. At number 8, I'll let you decide. On my list, what have you enjoyed more? Was it Clank? Was it Street Masters? Was it Thunderstone Quest?
Street Masters.
Street Masters. You really want to do that, or is there something on your list that you want to?
You gave me X-Files Legendary. I gave you 2 in a row though. So the question is...
I think you didn't really give me 2 in a row. You brought Call to Adventure back from the dead as I tried to kill it, since you did enjoy it. I think that was more of it happened to be on my list, and you liked the game enough.
So let's say Street Masters at number 8, and I would suggest that the Reckoners is number 9.
I can definitely give you the Reckoners at number 9, if that's a fair compromise. The Reckoners is a fantastic game. It's just off my list because of lack of replayability. That's really the biggest issue with the game. It's always the same villain. So number 10 is going to be the probably most difficult. I know you want to try to get on there, and I absolutely do not want it on our list because of all the problems, even though it's your number 3. I have had some of the best and worst gaming experiences of my life with that silly game.
I still think it's better than Clank.
Yes, but is it better than Thunderstone Quest?
Oh, definitely.
I don't think it's better than Thunderstone Quest.
Like I said, Thunderstone Quest wiped from my memory, just not memorable enough for me.
So what about Space Base?
No.
Folklore?
That would be too similar to Imperial Assault and Descent in my case.
I would rather have Imperial Assault at number 10 than Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle.
Sold. There you have it, folks.
You sure? You're willing to get your number 3 off the list?
It's our top 10 list.
Okay. That's fair.
I love the game. I still do. I will recommend it to anybody. But I know Jason hates certain mechanics. And although he was the one who recommended playing it to the Cyberbard and his wife, I think he regretted it.
I never regretted it. We played years 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're at year 5, where it starts to get a little bogged down. Honestly, years 1 through 5 are amazing. It's just the end game where it bogs itself down.
So there you heard it, folks. Our real number 10 is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. But as far as Jason's concerned, our number 10 is Imperial Assault.
No, but let's be realistic. When it comes to the channel, Dice and Dragons, when it comes to sort of a little bit of our own origin, that was the first game that really, I went out and got. I decided I wanted to introduce her to hobby gaming. There was no co-op app. We played with the Cyberbard, and I still think our most memorable game experience ever was in that game. So,
the Hail Mary?
The Hail Mary. There was one combination that would get us the win against the Cyberbard in our first game. We made a bunch of mistakes. He was giggling with glee. And I sat down, I figured it out. He's like, you're never going to figure it out. There's no way. And then I figured it out. And I said, love, get the roll. And she got it. And the whole table erupted. Even the Cyberbard was like, wow.
So for that reason, that's why it ends up where it is.
I think that's fair. Even though Harry Potter was higher. Now, one thing just to mention, down below in the video description, we've talked about him enough, we game with him enough, you'll find a link to the Cyberbard's channel as well as to the Top 10 channel as we, give credit where credit's due for people that have played with us and people that have inspired us.
So before we tell people what time it is, I suggest we recap our Dice and Dragon definitive top 10 board game list.
I agree.
So,
There's only one problem with our list, though.
What?
We haven't done a full review of it yet. Neither our number 1 nor our number 10. I think there'll have to be priorities in 2020.
Okay. So, number 10, Imperial Assault. Number 9, The Reckoners. Number 8, Street Masters. 7, X-Files. Legendary.
Encounters.
Call to Adventure at number 6. Number 5, Power Rangers.
Hey, don't say it like that. You've had more fun with that. You should have seen her being like, I'm Trini, I stab everything.
Okay, number 4, Aeon's End Legacy. Number 3, Journey to Middle Earth. Number 2...
Journey's in Middle Earth. If you're going to correct me, I'm going to correct you.
Number 2, Marvel Champions. Number 1, Descent. I suggest Jason put a list and actually write them down, replace our face with this list so that you can actually get the final list.
I will do my best to get something nice and done. Maybe it won't be, in front of our face. Maybe we'll have a couple of images that pop up. We are trying to release this on Thursday. This is early in the week, and we are stupid busy. I will do my best to get all the graphics and all of this make work, that she is assigning me. But you know what they say? Happy wife, happy life.
So now it's time to remind you guys to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have some new content for you.
Also, down below in the video description, you will find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all there. Also, as I just mentioned, once again, you'll find links to some associated channels and some great content. You should definitely check out the Top 10 show and the Cyberbard, especially if you like Let's Play videos. Also, popping up in front of me are going to be links to one of our latest releases, depends on when you do watch this video, and then a link back to, what would you like it to link back to? You know what? It's going to be a link back to our number 2 game, Marvel Champions. When the review is completed, you have a link to our review of our number 1 game, Descent. That sound right to you?
Sounds right. So now it's time to grab our drinks. That's grabbing your best friend, but okay, grab your drinks.
I'm doing both at the same time.
Grab your best friend. We're keep playing games. Actually, we should be playing Descent again. It's been a
We're
while.
going to keep playing these games. Well, there has been a new campaign that came out, so
We are very close to the holidays, so I'm thinking at least one day during the holidays I'll be able to convince you to pull out Descent.
Well, main issue we've had, lots of new games coming. Haven't had time to get the full thing to the table. We'll make time though. We've got a few games that we're finishing. There will be a Descent campaign review guaranteed in 2020. Just because I need to keep her happy.